I hope that you're really excited for a live interactive workshop where I'm going to take you through a series of exercises, a series of challenges, a series of interactive workshops where you can actually find out more about yourself. And today's theme is all about how you can find your passions and pursue them. Right? How do we understand what we're passionate about? How do we understand what we really connect with? And how do we actually make that something that we can pursue, make it a reality, and actually have an action plan that lets us experience those benefits? I wanted to start off talking to you about a specific model that I think is really, really interesting, which you may have heard of and you may not have heard of. But why are we exploring passion in the first place? The incredible thing is that research shows that when you live your passion, you're adding 8 hours of joy to your life, right? Scientific research proves that the more we live our passions, the more joy, energy, enthusiasm that we're bringing into our lives on a daily basis. That has a trickle effect into your relationships, your work, how you feel. So connecting to our passions is something that we all really need to take into account, especially if we want to increase our fulfillment. Now, there's a few stages that it starts at, and I'm going to take you into this model, which is a brilliant model. It's actually a Japanese model, and it's called Ikigai. That's Ikigai. You may have heard of it, you may never heard of it. But what it means, if I translate that, is a reason for being, right? In Japanese, Ikigai means a reason for being, or what we would call today, the reason you get up in the morning, right? What really motivates you, what gets you pumped to actually be up and awake in the morning and to do something. Now, this model's got a few really, really interesting parts. So it talks about the 4 things we need to find a reason for being, right? The number one thing it talks about is what you love doing, right? What do you do that you love doing? Another thing is, what do you do that you're actually good at, right? People actually say to you, think of something in your life now that you're good at, right? That you're like, oh yeah, people tell me I'm good at that. When I finish that exercise, people say, well done for that, right? They congratulate you, they notice it, they recognize you. That's things that you're good at. Think about them right now, and I want you to write them in the comment section. So think about the things that you love, write them in the comment section. What are they? I'll read them out. And also think about the things that you're good at. Write them out in the comment section as well. The third thing, the area where we're not really going to go into today, but we will do in the future, is world needs. What does the world need? What do you have that you can contribute to making a difference in the world? And finally, it talks about what you can actually get paid for, right? To actually make a living. Today, we're going to focus on these 2 sections. This intersect here is called passion, which is exactly the intersect we are talking about today. This intersect here is called mission, right? Which we won't go into today so much, but definitely something to consider. This intersect here is called your job, right? And this intersect here is called a vocation. So that is Ikigai, reason for being. Maybe you've seen it before, maybe you've never seen it before, but hopefully this is giving you a perspective of where we're going to start. So we're going to dive in here. What do you love doing and what are you actually good at? What do people notice? How many times have you ever been told, follow your dreams? Right? We've all heard that before. But where do you start? Right? Where do you start? What do you start working on? What else helps you uncover those things? When we were young, you went to school, you were doing so many things. I want you to start off by thinking about one thing. I want you to think back to a moment where you felt you were in your element, where you felt you were in flow. It may have been a challenging situation, but to you it felt somewhat effortless. You were performing an activity. You were doing some sort of teamwork with another group. Now, the challenges that we usually think of, when someone asks you to think of your passions, we immediately start thinking of hobbies like art, music, drama, right? Science, whatever it is. We start thinking of containers. Because for a long, long time in our lives, we've been trained to believe that everything comes in boxes, everything comes in containers. We think of careers as containers. We think of careers as boxes. But the incredible thing about finding your passion is that our passions are more like environments that we thrive in. Right? Our passions, or our natures as they're called in ancient traditions, is actually environments, a group of elements coming together that means someone can thrive. It may mean for you that you work better in teams. It may mean for you that you work better alone. Those are environments, environmental signals that you can find if you're just conscious and aware of when you're in flow, when you're excited, when you're making a difference, when you're making a change. That can be part of yours too. So let's start by looking at this model that I created a while ago. This is something that I came up that I think will be really, really useful today, and I hope that you connect with it as well. And what advice do you have for someone in her 60s and is starting a new chapter? And I'm so happy to hear that. The incredible thing about Ikigai and nature and finding your purpose. From when I lived as a monk in India, I was taught about this and we were thinking about these themes. There's no age limit. It never says that once you're this age, you can't have a new chapter. So first of all, it's phenomenal to hear that. I'm really happy to hear that. And my advice would be try and apply this model right now, because with your time, you can maximize the impact. So this is called what I call the quadrant of success, right? And it breaks down our core activities on a daily basis. And I want you to draw this quadrant on a piece of paper right in front of you right now and fill it out. So I want you to mark the first area of the quadrant, what you love and are good at, right? What do you do and you're good at it? Now, the best way to know this is ask friends for feedback. Your friends will tell you, oh, you're really good at that. You're really good at that. Oh, maybe that's something that I've noticed that you excel at. Another way of asking the question is go up to your friends and say, what difference do I make in your life? Like, why do you like having me as a friend? They may think you're weird at the start, but I promise you the answer will help you answer this question. Asking them, how do I make a difference in your life? Why do we connect? You know, what is it that I add to your life? What value am I adding? And your friends will be able to tell you. So what you love and what you're good at, that is your passion, right? So I want you to write a list of things. You may have one thing, you may have 10 things, you may have 5 things. It doesn't matter. Write them out. Don't worry about humility at this point. Write down things in the most honest way, things that you know you're good at and connect with. Jamie, what if you are good at many things? Awesome, Jamie. Write them down in this quadrant. It doesn't matter. That's absolutely fine. Arun, I don't know what passion is. I'm good at multiple things, but I'm not sure what to start to figure it out. That's absolutely brilliant. You're in the right place as well. So write this out, a long list of what you love and are good at, right? Passion. Now I want you to write down the second quadrant is what you don't love but are good at, right? And I'll give you some examples as well for me. And this thing is what I called paying bills, right? This stuff pays the bills. This stuff's your passion. So I'll give you an example. What I love and what I'm good at. I love reading and I love sharing what I'm learning. That's something that I love doing, and I hope that I'm somewhat okay at it. It's something that I enjoy. It's something that I like learning about. What I don't love but I'm good at is maths, right? I'm pretty good with numbers, but I really don't like numbers. I can do them, but I don't really like them, right? Think about the things in your life that you don't love but are good at. Normally, these are the things that we do to pay the bills. They're things that make money. There are jobs, there are professions, there are careers, right? Think about what they are, write them out, right? It's the things that you don't love but are good at. People know you're capable at them. How many of you ever get asked to organize weddings, organize parties, organize events? Now, if you love doing that, put it in this column. If you don't love doing that, put it in this column if you're good at them, right? I hope this is making sense. I hope you're with me. Make sure you're doing this exercise as we go through. Now, the next thing I want to ask you is the fourth area is what you love but are not good at. What do you love? What do you love learning? What are you like always open to finding more about, but you're not quite there yet? You wouldn't call yourself an expert in that space. You wouldn't call yourself even a semi-professional in that space, right? You're still an amateur. This is your potential, right? This is what we call potential. It's something that if you were given the time and tools to learn about, you would just go all in. You'd get excited about it. You'd get enthused about it. You'd have energy about it. Right in that column what it is. So I could add a load of things to those comments. I think one of them for me would be script writing. I'd love to learn more about film writing and video writing and script writing. So I'd go into that and I'd look at that, right? That's not something that I've worked on. In the past, I've had things in this category that I now do. So this is your potential. What do you love but are not that good at yet? Yet being the key, but you love it. You have a passion for it. You want to learn about it. And finally, the fourth and final quadrant of success is what don't you love and are not good at, right? What do you not love and are not good at? These are the daily tasks we all have to do, right? And we may not be good at them. You may be good at them, but it's things like washing up the dishes, right? It's things like taking the dog for a walk. Maybe you love doing that, so that can go in a different category. But it's the stuff that you don't love and are not that good at, right? Write down what they are. Patrick, what if I don't love, but I should be doing it? about my profession. Patrick, exactly. So what are the things that we find with this quadrant is we spend most of our lives in this space and this space. We spend most of our lives focusing on what we don't love but are good at, and what you don't love and are not good at. A lot of our time is spent in these two quadrants. Now that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not putting out a message there saying everyone needs to change their job. I'm not saying that if you're not loving what you do every day, quit today and go out there and do something else. What I'm saying is, if we want to live a life of fulfillment and passion and purpose, we need to increase the amount of time and priority we dedicate to these two, right? These two deserve more time, more priority, more energy. And we need to find that. We need to create that. We need to create space in our lives where we can start focusing in on these two segments of the quadrant and not these two. These two are things we have to do. These two are the things we want to do, love to do, and will drive that joy, drive that passion, drive that fulfillment and happiness in our lives. So I really want you to identify these first of all. The reason why we never give these time is because we've never had time to identify them. And this gives us an opportunity to start doing that. So I hope that answers your question. Tina, I love helping people and I'm a good organizer, but at 56 feel the need to change, but not sure what to do. Well, that's what I'm talking about. These are things that you can start doing on the weekend. It's things you can start doing on the evening, right? Creating joy in your life doesn't mean you need to make it your 9 to 5. It's awesome if you can make your daydream your day job, right? That's brilliant. If you can make your passion your paycheck, that's awesome. And I encourage you all who are out there who have that risk, who want to make that happen, go out there and do it. But if you're on the side of you need to think about security, stability, really think about investing in that talent first. And this is another interesting and incredibly important point and critical point I need to make, is that these two areas require deep investment and learning, right? Just because we love something and we're good at it doesn't mean that level of expertise, that level of experience is enough. We need to go all in. We need to go full throttle. You know what the challenging thing is? We've always built this conveyor belt idea of life. We've built this thought process that we go to school, we get a degree, we graduate, we get a good job, get married, whatever it is, like this conveyor belt of activity. And all of a sudden, when we realize that that conveyor belt doesn't actually work, and that conveyor belt may not even be right, it surprises us, it shocks us, because it's almost the conveyor belt we always saw. And what I always say is that we were made for a lot more than to go to work, pay bills and die, right? We all have a lot more meaning in our lives than that. Tell me if you believe you've got a lot more meaning in your life than that, a lot more ambition than that. And we all do. So the way to uncover it means we've got to sometimes say plot twist and pivot, right? Sometimes life changes, and more often than not, change is the only thing that's certain in life. So the more we open ourselves up to that principle, the more likely we are able to make these changes. Now I'm going to do a quick switch here to show you the next phase of what I wanted to talk to you about. And this is where you're really going to learn about yourself. This is where you're really going to understand more about the way you work. Now I'm going to ask you two questions, and I want you to answer these two questions, right? Think about these two questions very closely, and I'll explain what I mean by them. Do you believe that you're more outgoing or more reserved, right? Answer this question for me. Do you believe you're more outgoing or more reserved? Now, I'll explain to you what I mean by those. Outgoing people are the people who are always in the center of the room. They pull people to come out with them. They're the ones who organize the party. Or even if they didn't organize it, they're the one who are going to steal the show, steal the party, right? Outgoing people. Reserved people doesn't mean you're not as confident. It just means that you're more likely to sit on the periphery of the audience. You may be dragged out last minute. You may not really have wanted to go, but you made it out anyway. Right? Recognize neither of these are strengths or weaknesses. Neither of these are advantages or disadvantages. It's just our natural disposition. It's the way we naturally function. It's the elements we like. Outgoing people generally lead conversations. Reserved people generally observe conversations. Which are you? Choose one or the other today. I'm asking you to make some extreme choices. Of course, there's no black and white. There are grays in life, but I want you to choose. So answer this question. Are you more outgoing or more reserved, right? Question number 2, I'm only asking you 2 questions, nice and simple. The second question I'm going to ask you is, are you more people-orientated or are you more task-orientated? And I'll explain what I mean by that. People-orientated people are always thinking about what is people's experience. Are people enjoying this? Are people connecting with this? Are people having a good experience? Task-orientated people are thinking, what time is it? right? Is everything on schedule? Are we going to meet the deadline? Are we going to make sure things happen? Are we going to connect? They're always thinking about the deadlines, the times, the focus. People are focusing on people, task people are focusing on the task, right? For example, I'm a people's focused person. So right now I'm thinking, are you guys all having a good time? Are you connecting with what I'm saying? Are you listening? Are you taking part? And my producers are wondering, is he going to go over time? Has he talked too much, right? Is the scheduling going okay? That's the difference between people-orientated people and task-orientated people. Don't answer what your job makes you do. Don't answer what your job's made you become. Answer what you do at your gut instinct. See, when people-orientated people become task for the workplace, they then feel guilty. When task people become people, they never feel guilty, right? They know what they're doing. So if you start feeling guilty when you do the other, you're probably the other one. So are you task or people-orientated? Think about that for a moment and answer the question. So, taking a look at our little diagram here, let me know. Write down in the comment section, are you people or task? Right? Remember, neither is an advantage, neither is a strength or a weakness. It's our natural disposition. I'm an outgoing with reservations. Okay, brilliant. That's fine. People-orientated. Awesome. Keep those comments coming. Let me know what you're writing down. Now, so if you're outgoing and task, you're what's known as a D-style personality. And that personality is known as dominant, right? If you're outgoing and task, you're a D-type personality. Now, if you're outgoing in people, you're known as what's known as an inspiring personality, right? Now, if you're reserved and people, right, you're known as a supportive individual. And if you're reserved and task, you're known as a collective individual. Now, I'm going to tell you a bit about all of these 4 personality types. Now, of course, we all have mixes, and there are 16 versions of this that you could be. But this is a simple exercise that we can drive into our interactive workshop today that you can connect with. Now, I want to tell you a bit about each of these. How many of you were outgoing and task? So outgoing and task people, generally very driven. You're drivers, you're also able to drive other people, right? You can dominate conversations. You're good at being in control, taking control, directing audiences, right? You're good at giving direction, and you're good at getting stuff done. You're great with deadlines. See all these D words that I'm dropping right now, right? You're directors, you're drivers, you get things done. You stick to deadlines. You make things happen. These people are great at making sure projects executed. These people are great at making sure that projects end on time and happen to time and on schedule, right? These people are ready, fire, aim, right? Ready, fire, aim. They're so ready, they want to get going, they aim afterwards, right? These are D-type personalities. If you're in that quadrant, you will succeed when you're given a position where you can direct, when you can drive, when you can be making key decisions, and when you feel things are going to time. So you need to create an environment in your passion, whatever it is, that environment itself will help you uncover your passions even more. It will help you learn and grow and thrive. And that's the key thing here. We're trying to give you an environment that you can start thriving in, right? That's the D-type. Now, how many of you were in that D-type? Let me see what some of you are saying. Stacey, I'm definitely more reserved and have struggled finding who I am because I felt that being reserved has hindered me in life and has had a negative stigma. I'm anxious to learn how I can use this as a strength. Stacey, great question. Thank you so much for bringing it up. The incredible thing about being reserved is that you observe closely. Being observant is one of the greatest strengths of an individual. When you can observe human behavior, when you can observe what's happening in the background, you can almost extract insights that other people don't see. You can extrapolate signals, ideas, symbols that other people don't see. That's an incredible strength. One of the things I recommend to you is something I learned from an entrepreneur many, many years back. And he said to me that he was an introvert. He was a very successful entrepreneur. He was an introvert. And what he did is he surrounded himself with extroverts. The extroverts would be able to talk about his ideas in a way that other people would relate to them, but they were able to stay true to his idea and recommend and stand as advocates of his work. So my recommendation to you is find friends, find a community where you have extroverts around you who understand you, who really connect with you. The other thing is finding the right spaces. One of the biggest TED Talks is all about how introverts have such great strengths, right? Some of the best speakers in the world are actually introverts because they thrive more on stage. So being reserved and being an introvert is actually a great strength because you can observe better. Surround yourself by people who can get that message out there, whatever you're trying to share, whatever you're trying to understand. And thirdly, find spaces where now it's becoming more common, even through online networks and forums where you can connect with people. I hope that answers your question. Let's have a look. Mervyn, what if you're not wanting to face self-awareness and are afraid of change? Well, that's one of the biggest challenges we all have. We're afraid of change. My challenge to you is that not changing is something we should be even more scared of, right? People are scared of failure, but we should be more scared at succeeding at things that don't really matter to us. That's like something we should be more scared of. And that's an incredible thought process. I know loads of startups in Silicon Valley really harness this thought process where they say that actually we need to change because not changing is more scary because everything else around us is constantly changing. That's something that I recommend getting some motivation around, getting some coaching around as well. Sydney, how to be a better networker as an introvert? Use online social media. Social media is perfect for those of us that are more reserved and may not feel comfortable going to a networking event and handing cards out. And quite frankly, it's the worst idea in the world, right? Whenever that's happened to me, I never remember someone who gives me their card. I remember someone who expresses their heart, someone who actually connects face to face and tells me what they stand for, what they're passionate about. Online social media is a phenomenal way of connecting. If you feel you're more reserved, I definitely recommend it. I see lots of people using it to their strength. Evan, I'm 27 and looking at going back to school. Awesome, to help the environment and animals. However, I'm already in massive debt from my first go at college. Should I take that into consideration at all? I feel like money should never hold us back, but I don't want to ruin my future. Evan, thank you so much for that honest and open question. I love the fact that you want to make a difference to the environment, so that's extremely commendable. There's two routes. The first route is that intrinsic motivation to make a change is so powerful that you're going to go and do it anyway, right? You're so motivated by that. You're not going to worry about the money. You're not going to worry about the challenges, anything that's come up. You want that change so badly, you're not going to be worried about your security. That's one route. The second route is that there's multiple routes to make a change that often we don't consider. There's multiple methods and ways and routes that we haven't connected with. It may mean you joining an NGO and not needing the qualification. It may mean traveling somewhere, taking some time out and experiencing and getting a shorter qualification in that space. It may mean being mentored by someone who's a leader in that space. There are multiple options. Start thinking about the next 3 things you can do tomorrow, people to reach out to, projects to get connected with, and organizations to partner with. Right? People, projects, and partners. Start thinking about 3 things you can do for each of those spaces. Get started on them now if you think it's too big a risk to make the switch. I hope that answers your question, Evan. Thanks so much for sharing that. Kevin J, how do you trust your instincts on our passions when we have loved ones who feel those passions are not worth following? Kevin, great question. The really interesting thing about our passions is that most people will not connect with them until it starts having some impact, right? You know, people will first laugh at you, they'll question you, and then they'll join you and follow you, right? It's like they'll almost ridicule you to begin with, then they'll think about you, and then maybe even, you know, come back at you, and then they'll follow you, join you, work with you, partner with you. And that's the process we go through. People that love us, people that don't know us, that's the journey that everyone goes through. So the first thing is to accept that that is a journey. The second thing is that if this is an intrinsic motivation, like what I was saying to Evan, is this is something that you truly believe in, then you're not worried about whether other people believe it or not. If it's something that you've truly connected with, something that drives you from a much deeper place, then you're not going to be worrying whether person X, Y, or Z agrees with it or works with it, right? So that's definitely something to consider. Thank you, Kevin, for asking that question. Sally, what if you thought you knew your passion and realized you didn't? Absolutely fine. Go back, do this process, and figure out what it is. See, it's very natural for our passions to change and evolve. It's very rare for you to do the same thing when you are 20 as you're doing when you're 50. That's very rare. It's great for there to be change. Don't be so opposed to that at all. Great to see so many of your questions still flying through. Great to see so many of you engaged as well. Now, I want to come back to this because I want to give you some more insight regarding the Ds. Now, if you fall into the Ds, we talked about this. If you fall into the inspiring category, you're an influencer. You come up with insights. You like coming up with new ideas. You're good at inspiring people. You're good at influencing people to make change. You're great at persuasion. You're great at negotiation. And these individuals are ready, talk, 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 right? People talk a lot when they switch in this area. But the thing is, their talk, if harnessed properly and nurtured properly, they can have an impact. So these people thrive in arenas where they feel they can have an influence, when they think that their ideas are being taken seriously, when they feel that they're able to come up with things that can make a change, right? So that's where you've got to creatively fit into that one. Now, you may say you were reserved and people, right? Actually, I'll come to that one last. You may say you're reserved and task, then you fall into the C category. These people are calm, collective, cautious, conscious. These are also the people that send you text messages and emails saying that you've got spelling mistakes in your text messages and emails. They look for the detail. They're really conscious of the miniature detail, the attention to detail. They're focusing on the quality, right? So these people focus on getting things done. These people focus on making sure that people like what's being done. These people make sure that the quality of what's being done is done well, right? These people are ready, aim, 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 aim. They're perfectionists. So if you're a perfectionist, you fit into here. Your skill set is that you're great at focusing on quality, but you shouldn't be focusing on delivery or making sure other people are going to like it. You've got to make sure that the quality of that product is phenomenal, right? And finally, you've got S, reserved and people. These people are supportive. These people are stable. These people are mediators. They're great at making sure everyone's connected. They're getting good at making teams work effectively together, good at ironing out issues and touchy points and areas of challenges. These people are also the people in the organization that you go to get a hug from, right? Can I get an R, virtual life? You put it in the comment section for me as well. These are people that give a lot of love to people. Notice you need all four to make an effective team. If you're an entrepreneur, you're running a project, you're working in a company, whatever you're trying to do, you need all four to work effectively. These people make sure the project has a plan and that you stick to the plan. These people make sure that other people outside will buy into that product, know about that plan, know what you're doing. These people make sure the quality of it actually works. And these people will make sure that the team works. Notice you need all areas. So whichever one you are, play to that strength, right? Focus in on that. Really, really go for it. Go all in that space. Don't try and be the other one. When I's try and be D's, they won't work because that's not about the same thing as that. When C's try and be S's or D's or I's, it never works. We're like a fish out of water, right? A fish out of water, you can give it all the money in the world, it can't survive in that environment, and therefore it will die. And that's what happens when we're functioning too much outside of our environments, in places we don't thrive, we don't breathe and live either. Right? So really hope that you're connecting with these points that I'm making. I hope that you're understanding exactly what we're talking about. All the personality types on the board are very important to teams. Exactly, Rainey. That's exactly the point I'm making. Aaron says, great explanation. Need all four. Awesome. Yes, and it's making you realize, the reason why I did this exercise is to make you realize that you are integral to making change. Like, you're powerful. If you focus in on your environment, if you connect to becoming the best in that space, you are an incredible asset to yourself, to a team, to other people, to anyone, because all of these are needed. But the worst thing is when we try to do someone else's duty. And there's this great verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which I read as a monk, which says that it's better to do your own nature, even if only 50%, than doing another one's perfectly. When we aim to do someone else's work even perfectly, we'll always be challenged, we'll always be let down. That's why we feel stress. That's why we feel pressure in life. When you're doing pressure in your own environment, you feel the pressure, but you get through it, you dive through it. Kelly McGonigal talks about that in her book called The Upside of Stress. That when you're working in your passion, stress doesn't feel like stress anymore. You still experience it, it just doesn't feel like it. But when you're not working in your passion, stress feels like stress, pressure feels like pressure. It gets really, really heavy. And we all experience that in our lives. And if you're experiencing that in your career, you're experiencing that in your life, find areas of your day where you can be pursuing your passions. Miyoka, can you be two aspects at the same time? Of course you can, right? It's very likely that I's and S's can be together, S's and C's, D's and C's, or D's and I's. Those are very natural blends that can naturally exist. Which of these makes a good leader? They're all good leaders, they're different leaders. Right? Notice they're very different leaders. These leaders get stuff done. They're more like managers. These leaders set a vision, good leaders. These leaders are great at making sure things are done with quality, and these leaders make sure teams work together. Generally, I's and S's can be leaders, but D's and C's are also just different types of leaders. Notice there is not one type of leader, right? Can you give examples for each of job types, says Kanika? Sure. So D's would be project managers, right? Managers within organizations, consultants, right? People who are working with people, maybe even bankers. I's would be people working in the media, right? News, magazines, TV, etc. People who are C's are anyone that needs quality control, producers, right? Testers for technology. Coders would go into C's because you need that eye for detail. Analytics, you're in C's as well. And S's, you'd see people like psychiatrists, psychologists, right? But anyone who's making a team work. So I hope that gives some insights into those. Rennie, do you agree with not sharing your passions with the people in your life who aren't supporting and sharing with people instead? I always say that. Find the people that are going to champion you. Let them champion you. Let them help you grow. And you'll see phenomenal things that happen in your life. Don't give energy to areas that are taking energy away, because they're only going to take more. If someone's criticizing you, if someone's not with you, that's already extracting energy, then you focusing on that is giving up more energy. But when someone out there is supporting you, they're championing you, they're giving you energy, give that energy back to them and see incredible things happen. Guys, it's been phenomenal speaking to you today. Thank you so much for tuning into this workshop. I'm going to leave you with one last message. If you are asked that you had 100 hours, if I told you I was going to give you 100 hours of self-development courses by me, right? And I said you were allowed to split it across these 3 areas. Stuff that you're good at, that I would help you work on. Stuff that you're average at, that I help you work on. Or things that you're not good at. How would you split that in terms of percentage? How much percent would you give to each one? Would you do 80, 10, 10? Would you do 30, 30, 40? Would you do 60, 20, 20? What would you do? I want to know your percentages. And I'm going to leave you with a really incredible lesson. When they analyzed the most successful people, they found that the answer to this question of the most successful people was 80, 10, 10, or 100, 0, 0. The people that are successful, the people that are leading in their space and feeling happy about it, they're doing what they're good at and what they love, and they're becoming the best at it. They're going all in on that space. Right? They're going all in and focusing in on that space. When we focus on what we're poor at, we'll only ever be average. When we focus on what we average at, we'll only ever be good. Unless you love what you're average at, then you can scale up. Apart from that, we want to focusing on those 2 quadrants. Doing what you love and are good at, doing what you love and are not good at yet. That's where you want to give your energy. That's where you want to give your passions. I hope this session, this workshop, has allowed you to gain a lot more self-awareness. We started off talking about Ikigai, the reason for being. We moved on to talk about the quadrants of success and where we need to start shifting our priorities and pursuing our passions, focusing on what we love and are good at, focusing on what we love and are not good at yet. The intricate bit that people miss out is the training, investment, education, personal growth, education in that space, really investing in that. We've talked about areas we thrive in and making sure we're not trying to be someone else. Right? Don't try and be another personality type. It will never work. You'll make a mistake. I've done it myself many, many times. And remember, you've got to go all in when you know. And if you get it wrong, that's okay. Just go back and do it again and start from scratch. If you've just followed me today, if you've never tuned into one of these before, I'm at Shetty IW on Facebook. Come and find me and give a like to the Huffington Post and HuffPost Rise Facebook pages so that you can get a notification every time I'm live. It was great speaking with you today, and I wish you a weekend where you can explore your passions and start pursuing your purpose. Thanks so much, guys.